you've been able to win there quite a few times. It's got to bring some good memories when you reflect back on that place.
It's the closest that I've ever been able to actually explain to people living out your childhood dream. I grew up a huge Rick Mears fan. I wanted to race Indy cars. I wanted to win the Indy 500. And to go there and win the first time in 2003 was the coolest thing ever.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. California's Kevin Harvick does it. Tree making right there. You're the man.
Welcome to Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour, presented by NASCAR on Fox. I'm Kevin Harvick. She's Kaitlyn Vincie, and he's still Mamba Smith.
He is still Mamba
And
Smith.
he is decked out. Oh,
This is the best fit all year.
Look, so
Explain the shirt.
So, Pocono, what year is this? I don't know, 2009 maybe. I think Kevin wrecked Joey Logano, and then Joey had the great quote, "We know who wears the fire suit." And then last year, on Kevin's retirement tour, they decided to bring the shirt back out.
I love that
That's right.
shirt.
Piper wore this.
And the best part about this, we donated to the Joey Logano Foundation. We got with Joey, and I said, "Hey, here's what we want to do," and he loved it.
Yeah,
he was all in on the idea, and we've moved way past those incidents. I would consider Joey, a friend and somebody that if he needs something or I need something, we're gonna call each other and communicate well. So it was fun to bring that back and have it all kind of full circle. But yes, I did dump him. I can admit all that now.
I can admit all that
Chopped me
now.
one too many times, and so I just left my nose in there, and off he went. Luckily, he didn't hit anything.
He didn't. He drove.
No, he had a great save, and it was spectacular, and everything was great.
the moment.
That's good planning on your side of this.
Yeah, the fit,
timing of it.
Yeah, so it
Yeah.
worked well after Pocono.
Little
and then we
Indy
got to-
500 hat. Look at him.
Yeah, we're going back to Indy. So
He makes us look boring.
Yeah, we are boring compared to him. I mean, he went out all weekend and hooped it up.
We were together yesterday for the race.
We did watch the race.
Okay.
Came over. His whole family was with me. It was
Okay.
nice. Yeah.
Well,
Mom and Dad cooked some steak.
Yeah.
Great food, by the way. Appreciate that from
Hey, you
them.
know what
yeah,
you
well,
want.
I got some bad news on the cheesecake. Did I ever tell you that story?
Yeah.
Yes, and they
Yeah.
were very
Yeah.
disappointed.
Everyone's
to hear
very
this.
sad in the Mamba Smith household.
I apologize for that,
Yeah.
but I left it in the refrigerator at the race shop, and
It got eaten.
back, and it was gone.
Yeah.
They said it was great though.
It
There
only
you go.
made it from the studio to the shop, and then the same day also was eaten.
Never,
Like, it's
never made it home.
Never got a chance.
Guess they need to make another one.
Yeah, Pops, we need a
This
second one.
second
That's right.
round. That's right. Good race this weekend. We have plenty to talk about. We want to encourage all the closers to subscribe on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Also rate the show, leave a review, 5 stars as well. Plenty to talk about. Also, we're headed to one of the most iconic racetracks on the circuit. Can't wait to hear Kevin's memories of his time at Indianapolis. But you've had a busy day already,
I have.
my friend. You tell us about your announcement.
Yeah, so we announced that we're going to be a part of the Charlotte Checkers, the
So
AHL hockey team here in Charlotte. So we're a part of that ownership group with Zoyer Sports that took controlling interest of the Charlotte Checkers. So really interesting and as far as a business side of things, it really fits in well, I think, for our KHI management side of the business to be able to give our sponsors and drivers and foundation and people just a different outlet with a different group of people to network with. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that'll be a fun little venture as we go through the next several years. We go to a lot of Charlotte Checkers games anyway, and that's really kind of how we got involved with the conversation to be a part of the group. So it's been a fun day.
Sounds like we need to do a team outing to the
Anytime.
Checkers game.
When-
That's
I've never
easy.
been.
That's easy.
Dollar beer night.
Is
at
it?
the
It sounds fun.
It's so much. It's a blast. And like in the city of Charlotte, they're the team that wins the most, to be honest.
Right.
You can go in there, your team actually wins.
Really the only winning
It's
team.
really the only one that
Yeah.
wins at any rate right now. So checkers are fun. Congrats, Kev.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations. What else did you do this weekend?
Well, I went to North Wilkesboro and tested my
I
late
saw
model
that.
That guy.
on Saturday. That went well. The new asphalt's a little bit faster than the old asphalt, in case anyone was wondering. But we learned a lot, went through a lot of things, and the more I can be in those style of cars, I feel like the more competitive I will be as I start run more races. So we'll see. We go back August 3rd to run the Cars Tour race and compete in the event. So should be fun.
Very nice. Okay, so still very busy.
And I did nothing on Sunday. I cooked steaks.
Oh,
Steaks was the
Grilled
day.
out. Yeah, we grilled out and we watched the race. So the whole
Naturally.
retirement thing is starting to
set
I
in.
feel like my wife, Delana, is a little bit more content with everything that's going on. I can be busy during the week, but the weekends have slowed down a little
That's awesome.
currently.
Have
Yeah.
you picked up the
That's
links
nice.
yet? Are you swinging the clubs again yet or no?
I got to find my golf clubs.
Okay. That's the
You don't know where they are?
I know where they are, but I'll have to dig them out of the corner.
Probably-
So
Okay.
yeah, so I'll have to
Collecting
dig my
dust.
golf clubs out because we have a foundation. We have our AJGA golf tournament coming up in Bakersfield first week of August that we do with our foundation. So
First time I interviewed you ever was on a golf course for your foundation event.
and we still have that tournament.
Yeah,
So yeah, that'll be Monday after the Roval. So
nice.
yeah,
I
I'll have to find my golf clubs between now and then.
yeah.
Probably sitting right next to the Martinsville clock that we haven't had.
That we haven't.
might
I know.
be
When are we
leaning
doing that? Like, we need to get that clock in here because it would make a nice backdrop piece.
I agree.
Yeah, I just need some help putting it in a truck.
Oh,
That's you.
yeah,
that's
that's
all
me.
you.
Okay, sorry.
You can do the
closers,
heavy
sorry.
lifting.
That's your fault.
Yeah,
That's your.
Blame it on Mamba.
it's my fault.
When in doubt, blame it on Mamba. That's what
right.
we're gonna do. Okay, so you interviewed Ryan Blaney earlier. You've already been busy doing interviews, so let's talk about the race weekend, of course, that we had. What a great performance by that team. Also, Team Penske as a whole. We heard Ryan Blaney saying that they kind of had struggles early in the year with the new Ford nose and all the things, but now they're really hitting a stride and it's coming together.
Well, I mean, we spent the first part of the year worried about Ford.
We did.
We no longer need to worry about some of the Fords.
Prefacing that with some.
And one of those Fords that we don't need to worry about seems to be Ryan Blaney because they've been in contention, it seems like, to win just about every race except for, I don't even know which ones, but not many over the last several weeks. And they got to victory lane this week at Pocono by a great call to leapfrog Denny Hamlin there at the end of the race with the way that their strategy worked out. And as Ryan told us, that was one of the plans that they had laid out. But they had plenty of speed and were able to put themselves with the right track position when it counted to get the win at the end of the race. So Jonathan and Ryan did a great job. They did great with everything except for the burnout. But we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later.
Kevin's not impressed with
Yeah.
the burnout.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you, Ryan was saying he feels like the team is ahead of where they were at this
Yeah.
point a year ago. So do you think they're already getting primed for that championship run second?
I think it's different when you win a championship and now you know where you need to be to kind of be in position there, right? Like in other sports, you hear other athletes like, well, we just need to be here at this point of the season, and they are ahead of schedule compared to last year, and kind of even compared to the year before when they had a deep run too in the playoffs. So I think they feel good. Like this was a crew chief win. I felt like it was a strategy
chief
win.
win.
Like Jonathan Hassel did a great job, and Jonathan is a guy that Ryan handpicked. Like when they were doing the crew chief shuffle over at Team Penske, Ryan
Yeah.
wanted him, and it's paying off now, and they've obviously won a championship and winning races year in and year out. And then the other thing was on those final restarts when me and Kaitlyn were watching, I said the worst position to be in at Pocono is the 11 on your inside on a restart within 30 laps. Because it just seems like he puts you in a really bad compromising situation, and Ryan was able to get out kind of in front of him on both of those restarts. So that was
Yeah, and I think that the key to that usually becomes who's pushing you and how those pushes go and everything that you just don't want to be door to door with him. We've seen him put the 5 car in that position.
The 1 car.
The 1 car. So that's happened a couple times at Pocono. But Denny Hamlin's tough, and I think when you look at Denny, they've had a rough 5 weeks as far as finishes go. And when you look at Pocono and the finish that he had there, they had just a solid day. And you heard him say it after the race. We had a solid day from start to finish. They needed to stop the bleeding. It's not that they have been running bad, but sometimes you just get in these funks where you can't get those finishes. And the difference between a Denny Hamlin type situation and a Kyle
I knew
Busch
you were going to say that.
type situation is the 11 car has the speed, the 8 car does not. And that makes a huge difference. And we talked about it with Christopher Bell at the beginning of the year. They went through like 6 or 8 weeks of just miserable finishes, but that's going to happen in this car. That was one of the biggest things that we noticed right off the bat with this next gen car. you're going to have spells of things that just happen from getting in the middle of the pack and getting in wrecks, or your car is going to be off, or whatever the case may be. You're not going to have as many top 5s. You're not going to have as many top 10s. You're not going to lead as many laps as you used to lead when you have those dominant cars, because of the way that the races are. Competition's closer. The strategy's more wide open. There's going to be a lot of stage flipping and things like we saw this weekend from a strategy standpoint. So there's just a number of new dynamics that come with this particular car that just allow you to do less of that dominant stuff than what you used to be able to do.
Let me ask you something, Kevin. So Ryan was leading the race. The 11 was coming to pass. Who was in second at the end of that race? Before who did the 11 pass?
Alex Bowman.
48.
Alex Bowman, the 48, right? So Alex is kind of holding him up, right? And Ryan's managing this gap. The 11 gets in front of the 48 and is 0.3 faster. Then someone keys the radio and lets Ryan know. And the next lap, Ryan went literally 0.3 faster and then 10th faster than the 11. Are you managing that gap based off of, are you managing the gap off of time, or are you just waiting for someone to tell you to kind of go and get more speed? Like, how are you doing that?
Yeah, well, I don't think it's either, honestly. Yeah. I think that sometimes if you're in a fuel savings position, you'll manage that gap and try to save fuel. But what happens with this car, especially at a place like Pocono, and we'll see it again at Indy, you're going to get outside of that aero window where the car is affected aerodynamically with the way that it turns and the grip that it makes. And I think Denny was just a little outside of that gap for that lap. And when you get into that window, then you have these new problems that come from aerodynamics and the things that happen with the car. And I think he was just outside of that box, ran right into that window, and then was, okay, now we're about the same speed because of that deficiency that comes with that second place car.
So Ryan Blaney was able to capitalize. I mentioned that Kevin interviewed him earlier. You can see that on the Happy Hour podcast stream and YouTube, the full interview as well. So you referenced Kyle Busch, and I do want to spend a little time on him once again, because problems right out of the gate, because the car was leaking oil and they had to take it to the garage. This was a mad scramble, mad dash to get it back out onto the grid. And then the incident with Corey LaJoie, which I'm sure there are plenty of opinions on how this all transpired. Ended his day.
Yeah.
It's been a rough go.
Yeah, it's been a rough go. And I think when we look at the replay here, they were 4 wide and Corey went to go to the bottom. Kyle blocked him. And, based upon the lines in the racetrack and everything that you can see, it definitely looks like Corey turned right up into Kyle Busch and spun him around and unfortunately got a whole bunch of other cars involved. But you see that first block right there, and then you see Corey come back up the track and take him out. So I don't know any other way to explain that, but I hate it for Stenhouse and Daniel Hemrick and all these other guys that got involved. This is pretty typical Pocono fanning right here, and it looks to me you can see the lines in the racetrack. The 7 car definitely came back up the racetrack and just turned the 8.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough deal for everybody. I don't know. It's hard to say what was intentional, what wasn't. I don't think at Pocono that's somewhere you're trying to hook somebody, but it was definitely a collision that probably could have been avoided.
Definitely.
I think he didn't have the right angle and the getting in there. Even if he got in there, they were all going to wreck from the middle of the pack anyway. But the minute the 8 got turned around, I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is going to hurt so bad. And luckily, he kind of went through and didn't collect them from the bottom up. And unfortunately, somebody was there. And it was Ricky, but that was a huge hit, honestly, for Ricky and for Kyle.
I mean, there was at one point when that first happened, I'm like, oh my gosh, we're gonna wreck half the field.
Right?
Here.
Yeah.
I mean, if it would have caught, Carson Hocevar actually did a great job. He actually pitched his car sideways to miss the 8 car coming up the racetrack and went below him. But I think if it catches one of those earlier cars like Hocevar when he first started crossing the racetrack in the groove, could have been actually worse than it was. It still tore up a bunch of race cars, but just a bad move there.
Kyle Busch obviously still below the cut line, trying to make his way into the playoffs. When Kyle's peak frustration
I was about to ask you about this
is when he gets interviewed and he doesn't even answer the question. Yeah. He just immediately thanks the sponsors and he's smiling, but he's so pissed inside. That's what he did yesterday.
We've talked about this before on the show. He's just at this point where the cars aren't fast enough. Stuff's falling off the cars. They have issue after issue. When it goes good, he gets in somebody else's mess. There's nothing that is going right for Kyle Busch.
Yeah.
And most of the time, recently, they haven't had the speed to even do what they need to do to try to make up for that, because that's the difference between the 20 and the 11 and some of these other cars that are having issues. They have the speed, and that keeps the confidence level high. Kyle still has the maturity level at this particular point to not get himself buried deeper after the race with his interviews. Right. But man, what a terrible position the 8 car is in. I don't see a win anywhere in sight for the 8.
The craziest thing about them is they're really not that far. Like now points wise, like they're pretty far back. But as of like a couple weeks ago, they weren't like crazy far back and having terrible races, finishes. Like they still had hope to point their way there. Now I think at this point it's almost all but lost. But a couple of those finishes, actually finishing them out, they're talking, like they feel like they can make it. And
I feel like he's got a couple chances. Daytona was obviously going to be his best chance and I still believe that Daytona is going to put that 16th place car currently in a bad position, which is Ross Chastain. I think Daytona can put those cars in a terrible. It's going to be somebody outside of the top 16. I just have this feeling that it's going to be somebody outside of the top 16, and it's just going to be this wild, 16th place points position. And this week, it couldn't have gone worse for Ty Gibbs. Couldn't have gone worse for Ross Chastain. Bubba Wallace actually made up points to the 16th spot, but I look at Daytona and I just think to myself, man, there's going to be some risk taking that happens there, and there's going to be somebody outside of that top 16 that wins.
Well, let's touch on some of these drivers that you just referenced. Ross Chastain, he hit the wall coming out of turn 3. His last couple of finishes, pretty dismal. He is 27 points above the line, but it just seems like this team is not where they should be and where they were maybe a year ago as well.
Well, I think Ross and his team have ground out decent finishes and put themselves in a decent position points-wise. They haven't had the speed that they need to have
to win
to win races, and that's really what it comes down to. If you can, Suarez got himself in a position to where he won at Atlanta and was able to put himself in a position to be in the playoffs, but they haven't had the speed either. He did, he's had some okay finishes on the road courses, and at Chicago was okay. But these last couple of weeks for Ross have been tough. Didn't have a great week at Chicago. This last week, just lost the car off of turn 3 and got into the wall and ended their day. So when you don't have the speed, you can't have those bad finishes to go along with the lack of speed. And I just think they're in that position right now where they don't have the speed that they need to win races.
Yeah, I mean it's they're in, but I wouldn't be really comfortable.
No,
right.
I'm not saying I'm hitting the panic button, but I'm definitely trying to figure out where we can manufacture a win, because a win for them obviously locks them in, but it just takes a lot of stress off because right now you're the next one out. So with Daytona being such a wild card, Michigan, that's a place that I look at like Kyle Busch, where to maybe find some magic like they had at Fontana a couple years ago. Like if they can kind of hit on that, it's a similar racetrack, and you can make big speed there. So
here's the unique part for that 16th spot. I've been there, and it's not a fun position to be in when if one person wins, you're out.
Yeah.
And you've got these last 5-6 weeks that you have before the playoffs. So what do you do when you go to Daytona? That's the tricky question, right? So let's just say they go to the Daytona in a few weeks and they're like, okay, well, we know we can win. We know we need to take a lot of chances. But if we do take a lot of chances and have something happen, then we're down on points. It becomes this impossible to win scenario from what to do standpoint. So that's a tough one to balance, because you got to go for the win, but you could cost yourself a ton of points by taking too many risks. But Ross almost won the Daytona 500, and I think that they have to go there and try to win, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, and luckily for them, they got all the Hendrick cars are in. So some of that manufacturer teamwork kind of starts coming into play. But like if you don't go for it, and then you get caught in a wreck running
in
30th,
the back.
like in the second pack, that's way worse. Like I would rather, if I'm gonna go out, I'd rather go out on my shield and like trying to actually put it in the show versus like, oh yeah, we were just riding around and then we got caught up in some dumb wreck in the back. Like,
because you have to score stage points.
Yeah, you still gotta. Yeah, I hate that.
Because I think let's just say it was exactly like it is this week, and you have Bubba Wallace. You're gonna have to. He's gonna try to race
He's
up
going
front.
forward.
He's going to race up front, get stage points. You score a couple stages and you get 10 points in each stage. All of a sudden, that's down to 7, 8, 9 points.
Real quick.
Just off of stages, not to mention the finishes.
All eyes will be on Daytona to see how that one is going to unfold. You referenced Ty Gibbs. Also, on the other side of the spectrum, he has had speed. You know, was qualifying on the pole, leads laps, had an engine expire. Is that like one of the most concerning things for a driver?
I am hitting the panic button on this one,
Okay.
and that is the Toyota engines, because we've seen the 11 blow up, we've seen the 20 blow up, we've seen the 54 blow up.
It's quite a few.
So we've seen a number of engine issues with the Toyotas, and I think it seems sporadic, right? And so they have been at high RPM shifting racetracks that it seems like they've showed
Gateway,
up at.
Loudon, and now.
Yeah. So, but still, I would be panicked. But NBC did a great job of getting those shots of the engine expiring with the water and the oil coming out.
Yes,
of
I
the
know.
exhaust pipes. Holy cow!
It was a bucket.
Crazy, yeah.
And I need to apologize to Ty and the 54 group.
Because he curses everybody he
did.
picks.
I picked you guys.
Maybe we should
and
just
then you
not
bragged.
have him do a
Put
pick
it on
anymore.
the poll, and I was like, let's
Yeah, he
go.
texts Kevin and I. He's
And
like,
then I
oh.
text them, and I'm like, hey, if Ty pulls this off, we're going to name the show for a week Mamba and Friends.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about
Mamba.
that.
Kevin said,
Friends.
fuck no, but like.
Mama's happy hour. Yeah.
Yeah, but they were, I mean, they're in a weird slide, right? They have speed, but like it's just not
Coming together.
Yeah, and even in that race, he started on the pole, and I think he led the first like 18 laps. That second restart, slips and gets all the way back to like 6th or 7th, and he never really they never really made their way back.
Yeah, it's just so hard to recover on tracks like that with Pocono, Indy. There's just, it's so strategy dependent, and you can have a fast race car, but it takes forever to pass one car. So, you got to have all the pieces come together like the 12 did, where you don't have any mistakes, you don't have anything happen, you don't slip up on a restart because of the time that it takes to get past those cars. But the thing I go back to, they have speed. And you can tell that he knows he has speed with his interviews and things after the race. Ty knows that they have speed. He's not worried about that, but I am worried about their engines. And I am worried about that sporadic blow up comes at the wrong time in the playoffs. Been there, done that, and all of a sudden you're in a bad position.
Nothing worse, right? It's going to be interesting, too, going into this weekend, because everyone's going to want to have a peaceful 2-week break, because after Indianapolis, we have a 2-week break for the Olympics. You don't want to be that team that's like stressed the whole time with those 2 weeks, right? Yeah,
well, everyone's also going to the Brickyard knowing that they're actually racing on a real racetrack this week.
There's that,
it was just... I love the Brickyard. I love everything about it, but it was hard to get motivated over the road course and everything that comes with that. And those guys all know that going into this week. They want to be the guy that goes to victory lane and goes up that elevator and does all the things that come with the Brickyard. So it's an important week to win. And I think it's also, as you mentioned, really important for the demeanor and the things that you do during this off week as to whether you can actually recoup and enjoy yourself. And I think we heard Chris Buescher's team talk about if they don't win one of these next 2 weeks, there is no 2 weeks off because they're going to be worried about how they survive to get to the playoffs.
Okay, so let's talk about this Brickyard race weekend coming up, because it is one of the most iconic venues in all of motorsports. You've been able to win there quite a few times. It's got to bring some good memories when you reflect back on that place.
It's the closest that I've ever been able to actually explain to people living out your childhood dream. I grew up a huge Rick Mears fan. I wanted to race Indy cars. I wanted to win the Indy 500. And to go there and win the first time in 2003 was the coolest thing ever. It's not that I think that the Brickyard 400 is not bigger than a Daytona 500, but it meant as much to me to win at the Brickyard as it did at Daytona because of the fact that I grew up. That's where I wanted to race. And we see
Love this.
I don't know. It wasn't the last one, so I guess it would have been 19. We see Piper didn't quite understand
went
the
down
concept
for it and
of kissing the bricks. So she's looking around at everybody like, you guys always tell me to stay off the ground, and now you're kissing.
Now
the
you want me to
ground.
put my mouth on the ground?
So what's that kiss? What's that taste like?
It tastes like dirt.
Gritty.
Have you not done it?
Really? No, I've never been a part of it.
I did it, but I don't know why. It's not like I win anything, but I just did it because I wanted to.
We went there the last time in one in 2020. And in 2020 was obviously COVID. And I forgot. I forgot to take the trophy out there. I forgot to kiss the bricks. I forgot to do all that stuff.
How do you forget to do that?
Well, it was a weird time, and it couldn't
Yes,
go out
it
there.
was.
You couldn't go out there and take a group picture with your team and everything that you wanted to do. So you would go one way, your team would go the other way, and shame on me for getting to kiss the bricks the last time that I won there.
You know,
But
I always remember about Indy and you winning there is Cole Custer was running. I think Cole was running like 4th in that race, and gives Kevin a massive shot to leapfrog into lead, and then they took off. Cole could have competed with Kevin to win a race, which he really needed to do. And it was like the racing gods knew what he did and was a good teammate, because the next week at Kentucky, he ends up winning. So he finished like 3rd, and then the next week wins. And I always remember that as a cool team thing, because he did everything right as a teammate and then got rewarded the next week.
So the coolest part about winning that first Brickyard in 03, at that point there were 300,000 people around the racetrack, and they treated it like the Indy 500. So you would ride in the back of the pace car or one of the show cars with your. I rode with Delana, myself, crew chief, and owner.
Okay.
Oh, neat.
So it was myself and the other, my wife and Richard and crew chief. And so we rode around, and all the Indy fans, they're trained in this tradition. They hadn't left. And it was one of the coolest things that we were able to do, because of all the people that were still there, and just take that moment in of being able to win the Brickyard 400 and everything that it meant before you went to, do all the post-race stuff. But that ride around after the race was pretty neat. And another cool thing is Richard actually kept the car like it was, kept the tire that I did the burnout with going to Victory Lane, which was still probably one of the best burnouts ever. And so Richard kept the car and actually gave it to me as a retirement gift. So
that's right.
That first Brickyard 400 win car, I actually have.
That's really neat. Can you explain some of just like the culture around this racetrack too, and what makes it so different from other places that we go?
Well, it's a unique racetrack because it's so flat, but it has really, really long straightaways. And you look at Indy and you would think, it's just a rectangular shaped racetrack
with a pagoda.
All four corners are totally different. But when you drive through that tunnel, you know that you're driving into something special. You pop out of that tunnel and you just look around, and it's just this massive grounds of immaculate kept grass and concrete and everything that comes with it from corner to corner of the property is absolutely perfect. But the driving piece of it it's fun by yourself, let alone in the race, and to be able to go to Victory Lane and do all those things that you get to do. But Indy is just one of those magical places that you want to win at. And as a driver and as a team and everything that you do, you want to win at the Brickyard. And I think that's back racing on the oval. I know that they say that you're in the club if you've won on the road course. You aren't in a club.
He's like, nah.
You're not in the club.
He's
the only club you're in is if you win on the oval. If you can win the Brickyard 400 on the oval, then you're in the club. The road course wins don't count.
As a kid, this was always one of my favorite weekends because of how much tradition the Brickyard brings. But the IRP, the short track, like that was always one of my favorite lead ups, because we had ARCA Racing, trucks, Xfinity, and it was one of the best races of the weekend. And I think that place adds to what is big track, because it's short track racing. It's what we all love. And then you go over and see like the big track. And IRP this week it's gonna be rocking.
I'm so glad. NASCAR and IRP, they got into a little bit of a squabble for several years, and we didn't race over there.
Yep.
And I'm glad that they mended those fences to get everybody back over there racing, because that was what you look forward to. You went there on Thursday, Friday, and even Saturday, and I still believe that the Xfinity cars should be back over at IRP. I don't think that they should be at the Brickyard. I think it's a better race at IRP, and I think that the Brickyard, is one of those places that just demands the very top level of what you do. And I'm not knocking the Xfinity Series. I love the Xfinity Series and what they do. But in my opinion, it should only be the Cup Series at the Brickyard. I think it should be the show, and we should put everything over at IRP like it used to be until Sunday.
Yep.
It's a prestigious venue, crown jewel win for sure. Our guy's going to be out there this weekend back doing pit reporting, by the way.
Yeah.
So do you want to like give him a word? Because he's doing P&Q and the race.
Are you serious?
What?
You're gonna lay that? He would have forgot all about that.
I'm just saying he's got a busy.
I don't forget. only the things
Busy
the only things I forget are the things I should remember. I
have that.
remember all the things that I should forget.
Yeah, you should have forgot that. So I got my truck debut.
He's
on,
making
Oh, wow.
on
Yeah,
FS1.
it's awesome.
Nice.
On pit road, so I'm excited about that, which is cool because I also made my ARCA series racing debut at IRP. I just love IRP, so the
Yeah.
fact that
It's a great track.
I'm able to do like two different things at the same place. It means a lot.
It's a great city too, by the way. You go into St. Elmo's,
No, I go to Harry and Izzy's,
Harry and Izzy's. Which
and
one?
then
did you-
I go to the Wild Beaver.
Don't tell everybody because then we'll get bombarded.
I don't care. You can find me Friday night after the truck
No,
race at the
that's a
Wild
hidden-
Beaver.
What
with
is the Wild
25 cent-
Beaver?
It's a karaoke bar.
Oh,
25 cents.
so
is
fun.
Kaitlyn singing?
Huh?
You sing?
Yeah, it is.
I've thought about
Oh.
maybe singing this
Yeah.
weekend. Yeah.
You'd- Friday night.
We went last year and it was a lot of fun.
I like St. Elmo's.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
It's
I like
a
St.
neat
Elmo's. So
place.
I got to tell you one Josh story before we get off
Josh
St.
Jones?
Elmo's. So we-
Joshua Daniel.
Yeah, Joshua Daniel. We took Joshua Daniel to St. Elmo the first time, and he didn't really know what he was there for. You go there for shrimp cocktail and horseradish.
That's right.
Right.
Yes.
Well, we convinced him to take that little spoon and dip it in
Oh.
the horseradish, and we have convinced him that it is just a sauce. Well, he takes this little spoonful of horseradish, puts it in his mouth, and I swear to you,
Watering eyes.
he looked like he had water coming out of every square inch of the bottom of his eyelids. He's drinking water, wiping his face, sweat running down his face, and one of the most epic mistakes
That is funny.
we've convinced
I'll have
Josh
give
to
him
do
some-
ever.
Josh
give him
is
some
he's
crap
such a
about that.
he's such a go getter. Like,
Yeah, he
just
is.
gets it done. So
Like-
especially back then, because I'm sure he didn't really.
But he's so naive.
He's so naive.
He's so naive.
Yeah, he was not aware that cocktail sauce is extremely strong, like because they
It
put
is
a
going
ton
to
of
clear
horseradish
your
in it.
sinuses,
Yeah.
let alone a spoonful.
No, I can't even imagine. Poor guy. Wow, that's rough. Well, maybe we'll see you at Harry and Izzy's or
I
the
hope Harry and
karaoke bar.
Izzy's. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
What is Harry and Izzy's?
Harry and Izzy's is yeah.
connected to it, kind
Yeah,
of. Isn't
they're
it?
like
It's-
they're like
they have the
sister
same
restaurants.
food, but
Okay.
the ambiance is a little different.
So you go to Harry and Izzy's when you can't get a reservation at
Kind
St.
of.
Elmo's?
Yeah.
No, I just
So that's why
choose-
you've been to Harry
I
and Izzy's.
choose Harry and Izzy's because I'm not bougie like you guys. I just
What?
I'm
You
a
just called us
blue
bougie.
collar man over here.
I've learned
We were
that
all blue collar.
I've learned that I don't
got a blue
I
collar
don't
on.
care what anybody thinks about the things that I like anymore. I'm just at that point in my life, and
Yeah.
you can call it bougie, you can call it whatever you want.
Or the water
I didn't even know
shoes.
Harry and Izzy's existed.
That's crazy. You
There you
go
go.
to Harry and Izzy's, you're like, why am I going to St.
We
Elmo's?
usually went from St. Elmo's to the Steak and Shake across the street.
That's
for the
fair.
milkshake.
Oh yeah.
That thing never
That's-
shuts down.
No,
Yeah.
it's always open.
24
Always
hours.
open. It's just a fun city. There's just a lot
It is
going
a great
on.
city.
It's my favorite. It's one of, honestly, everyone's like, where do you like to go to the most to have fun? I'm like, Indianapolis.
Mhm.
Really? I'm like, yeah, I'll take Indy over Vegas or
Right.
Miami.
The other thing I love about Indy is the fans are so freaking smart about it. Their racing IQ is high.
High.
And,
Yeah.
and when you look at our TV ratings, Indianapolis is always in the top 5. But when you go to Indy, the race fans understand racing more than anywhere else we go in the whole country because of, I don't know why it is.
Yeah,
but
why do you think
I
that
guess it's just there's so many of them that are ingrained in that city around the racetrack, and the racetrack is just so much a part of everything that the community does.
Mhm.
If you don't know about racing in Indy, you probably need to move because you're not going to fit in. And it's just the racing IQ of the Indy fans is really fun as a racer to be able to go into that environment and talk racing with the fans.
You know
Yeah,
who I think they're
cool.
going to be pulling for too is Team Penske.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those fans are going to be wearing Team Penske gear. I think it's
You think?
it's a big weekend for them and RP and for Blaney, Logano, Cindric. I mean, even Burton. Like they're going to be pretty gung ho to try and win this thing for Mr.
Yeah.
Penske.
Who you eyeing for this one?
I mean, our sport is all about momentum, and I think that when you go to Indy, everybody wants to win. So I think everybody's bringing their smoking guns this week to be able to try to get back into victory lane. And, I think when you look at it currently, the momentum is with those Penske guys. And we talk about Blaney, and you even look at Logano. Like Logano ran top 5 at Pocono too. And I think that he's had his moments where they have been dominant, but I'm not going with those guys.
Okay.
No.
All right.
I'm going to stick with my guns on the 11. I think it's time to push that car back to victory lane.
Okay.
Speaking of guns, I feel like it might be time for you to do your little dealio here.
Ladies
Speaking
and
of big
gentlemen.
guns.
It is your favorite time of the show.
No, it's your favorite time of the show.
That's what I said. Your favorite time of the show.
No, your favorite.
That's what I
Mamba's
said.
favorite.
Yeah.
We got a big sip this week.
Welcome to Mamba's Social Sips, and we are in it this week. It's been a lot of stuff has been going on. So we'll start this week by going back to kind of last week. Bubba Wallace, Alex Bowman, Chicago. Bubba gets run over by Alex before the rain delay. Even Alex apologized on TV. He said he, texted him and they had communication. Bubba didn't really respond in race because, he's mad. After the race, Alex wins.
Mm-hmm.
Bubba comes up from his 36th finishing position or wherever it was way back there and doors Alex.
When Alex has the window net
Alex has the
down,
window net
belt's
down. So does
undone.
Bubba actually. And they, he's unbuckling and
Mm-hmm.
so it's a bad deal. Gets a fine. Bob Pockrass talks to Bubba this week at Pocono. And Bubba was like, and it was very honest.
Very honest. Very
how
candid,
he felt.
yeah.
And I mean, I think he hears a lot of the criticism of him and that he doesn't care and this, that, and the other, but he does really care. He's working hard at being a road course racer and for them to be putting together a good weekend and then have it all go away. And then the guy that you're racing
And
with
the
to get into
points, yep.
points is the one who gets into you. And then he ends up winning the race. And they would have been probably right there with each other on the same strategy. So $50,000 fine. But one of the big parts was Unc over here.
Good job, Kevin.
The guy, I texted Bubba. I said, Kevin and Delane are like the godparents of the garage.
Oh.
And you gave him some really good advice that I think
He referenced it.
He
Yeah.
referenced it. He's going to take with him for a while.
Well, here's the scenario was we were at the Legend Track and Bubba is there with us. He's been racing at the summer shootout every week just to have some fun and be a part of something that he likes to do. And here's my thing about Bubba is he takes so much heat on everything he does, good or bad. Bubba's a great person. And when he's not in that pressure and, listening to all the people chirp at him, whether it's on his team or in the industry or off the racetrack or on social media, like he's a great person. And I just, if he would just be him and not have to worry about everything else that's going on, people are going to love him. No matter what he's done. I loved his interview this week. I love the fact that he went in there and he said, didn't like it, didn't get defensive, didn't get mad, didn't point any fingers. Because that's really the boat that you put yourself in those situations. I've been there 100 times and you put it at the discretion of NASCAR. And sometimes they react, sometimes they don't. But you can't blame them, right? You can, but it's not going to do any good. But I love the Bubba Wallace away from the racetrack and the type of person that he is because he's a great person.
Mm-hmm.
He has great personality. He's fun. And I hope that he just doesn't worry about trying to live up to what everybody else thinks he should be. Just go be you. Do you, man, because you're a great guy.
So for people who maybe didn't see the interview, what did you say to him? What was the advice you gave him?
Well, exactly that. Just be yourself.
Okay, that's what you said.
Yeah,
Okay.
and don't go in there and be defensive or be mad. You can be mad and you can still have your opinion, but it doesn't have to be that you're angry, right? Yeah. Like I used to do the same thing. I used to go in there and just try to be angry and start throwing jabs and that it didn't get me anywhere. It just made me look bad, and I don't want him to get into that situation any more than he needs to be. You can still do all those things that you do, but you don't have to be the angry, mad person that's always just barking at people and carrying it right on your shoulders and have it affect your everyday life. Because when you have an attitude and are the type of person that Bubba is, people are going to love you. I mean, he has a great personality and he's a great person, and I just don't want him to ruin that carrying all that weight on his shoulders of what everybody else thinks. Because in the end, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you gave him advice. That's cool. You're kind of taking stock in people. You're tired and
I like
helping
all
them
of our
out.
guys.
Yeah.
I like
awesome.
I love our sport. I love all the guys that drive. I would do the same thing for you guys. I've done a lot of those dumb things. So if you need to know how to not do dumb things, come on over.
Come on over.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. But I mean, Bubba's we've been friends. He's my longest friend here in North Carolina. We met when we were both like 16. And just the whole to this journey, I think people don't understand what it's been like. And when you're just blazing this trail by yourself, when you're the first one of you and the things that come with that, good or bad.
But he carries it all right here.
He carries it all right. And on his show, like it's on his face. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
He wants to win so bad. And here's the other thing. People that say that he shouldn't be in what? He's won at every single level. Period.
Yeah.
Like he's a perennial winner at every level. And until now that he's been in a cup car that could win on a pretty regular basis. So like
he doesn't have to prove he needs to be here anymore.
No.
Not at all.
Now he's just got to figure out, the day-to-day grind with your team and get the most out of it. Like the rest of it, there is no more proving you need to be here. So
you're good, bro.
Just let it take a breath.
Yeah, just do you, dog.
That's right. Just do you.
Okay. Rolling into silly season.
Yes, the silliest of seasons.
Folks, we have been cruising. And it started with the first domino of Michael McDowell, I felt like, when he decided to go to Spire. That was really the first signing domino. And now Noah Gragson is on his way to front row in 2025. Not 100% sure I saw that one coming. I thought he was going to end up somewhere else.
Where?
I honestly thought he might end up at RCR. I felt like his demeanor and how he is and the Bass Pro relationship made sense.
Third car or replacing somebody?
I think it could have gone either way. I think it was going to be a third car, but if you told me that it was replacing somebody and somebody was going to take a step back and reevaluate what they wanted, I would have not been surprised with that either. But so he's going to front row. What do you guys think?
I mean, I think it's great. They said they feel like he's the whole package. Like they really wanted him, and I think it's good for him to have that as a landing spot.
Yeah, and when you hear the team owner talk about the differences between all the other drivers that he's had from a personality standpoint and how he's looking forward to that, and I think Noah has done a good job this year of showing that he deserves to be here and wants to be here and has the work ethic and ability to do all the things that he's done in the car this year going forward. So it's going to be interesting to see all these things play out next year with what works, what doesn't work, who made a good decision, who made a bad decision, because we've seen that 34 car be in contention. And once Michael announced that he was going out and Ford kind of cut him off from everything, they've been kind of mediocre from that point forward. And probably that's the expectation for the rest of the year with that particular car because of the scenario. So announcing it early is good, but it's also bad.
Yeah.
And so, but from Noah's standpoint, I think with Noah and Todd, that'll be interesting because Todd's kind of quiet and reserved, and Noah's very
out there,
very out there as far as everything that he loves to do and does a great job promoting and doing all the things that go with it. But all you hear out of SHR is how great of a teammate Noah is and how much fun he is to be around, and all the guys talk about how great it is to have him in the shop and how much he helps the morale of the race team. Yep. So seems to me like he's doing a lot of things right.
Yep. I think they are set up for the future. This is not the old front row. This is a front row that wants to win more races. They got Todd Gilliland, locked him up for an extension of like a couple of years.
Yep.
That
was huge. And now they got another young
guy.
stud.
Yep.
And they're stable. And now, along with that, your longtime crew chief, RC, Rodney Childers, who really took SHR to another level, has signed with Spire.
This one did surprise me. I got to be honest.
I think it surprised a lot of people. I think when you look at a lot of the pieces that Spire has put into place over the last little bit, I mean they've definitely made some moves with buying Kyle Busch Motorsports. They've hired Rodney. They put Doug Ducard in place. So there's just a number of things that it looks like they're building for the future, and you can't you can't build towards the future without the right people. And the experience and pedigree that Rodney brings to that scenario is really going to benefit everything that they do at Spire. And I think with I don't know all the inner workings of everything that shook out, but obviously Rodney liked what they told him, and he's going to be the crew chief.
Yeah.
7 car.
And they do have an alliance with Hendrick Motorsports.
That's right.
Keep that in mind. But I guess I was thinking he might move into more of a management competition role. I thought maybe he, because he's been doing the crew chiefing thing for a long time.
Well, and Rodney and I have had this conversation. You better, when you take that, if you take that next step into a management role, and I had this advice given to me as well. Once you take that step out the door,
you're done.
You better be willing to be done because you're not coming back through that door. So if you're
Makes
not
sense.
done with the competitive side from the crew chief standpoint, you better not take one step outside of that door, because if somebody sees you take that step out, most likely you're not coming back in, and you can't keep up with the progression. If you're not at the racetrack every week with this sport in that garage, you're behind.
Right. Yeah, it's different type of leadership when you move more to the business side for sure. And now we have Hailie Deegan. This is I'm interested to hear you guys take. So Hailie, I felt like had all the ability to make her way up through the ranks, and I still think she does. I think the Truck Series it was a tough step for her, and she never really got it going in the Truck Series. Makes the jump to Xfinity this year. Felt like that was a better move, and it just hasn't been a good year. And now her and AM Racing have split, and that's been a tough thing for her, I'm sure. And then you look at how the cars run. Cars run pretty good, pretty fast. So it's like, what was the miss here? What's your take on Hailie Deegan being out of the seat now?
I mean, obviously I covered the Truck Series for many years, and when she first came in, and like you said, I feel like she had a lot of promise, but it just never really seemed to come together for her, which is unfortunate because I think we all wanted to see her do well because she brought so many unique things to the table. The Deegan name, famous in motorsports. She had a lot of financial backing, huge brands and sponsors aligned with her, massive following, but I just think the learning curve has been really steep. I don't know how much guidance and like mentorship she's had necessarily to try and find her way in these race vehicles, but what do you think?
Well, I think that's part of the problem. I don't think that guidance and mentorship has been exactly what she needed for NASCAR. I think that the big mistake here was getting out of the Toyota development system. I don't think Ford has a great development system as far as the things that they do from ARCA all the way until you get to Cup. I don't think that they're developed. I don't think their development system, I don't even know if they have a development system. So you get put in these situations to where you don't have the resources and things that you need like Toyota does. And Chevy doesn't do it quite as well as Toyota does, but they do it better than Ford. So I think Ford has the worst development program as far as their drivers go. I think Toyota has the best, and I think Chevy's somewhere in the middle. But getting out of that Toyota development program with all the resources, and they're willing to give time. And I think that she needed more time in the Truck Series, getting that guidance and mentorship that she needed in order to develop into what she needed to be a NASCAR race car driver. And she carries this fan base off the racetrack that, it's a big fan base. And I think that she just got pushed through too fast and wound up in the wrong development system for her to be successful. So I think the moment that she stepped outside of that Toyota development system was a bad move.
I think Hailie Deegan is a raw talent. She has ability to drive race cars really fast, all different kinds. When she did the SRX deal, she was like right in the mix with the dogs. So it's not like she doesn't have the ability, but it's got to line up. You can have a really good quarterback. If you don't got the right team around him, it's just not going to work. And I think hopefully wherever she lands, it's a better
situation.
Better situation.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be tough to get another chance. That's going to be the hard part.
Yeah, true that. So That was Mamba's social sips.
Man, we're
Now,
drunk. That was a long sip.
That was a long sip.
That was more like a case.
It's a keg.
It was
a keg of beer there.
There's a whole bottle of wine in front of me. So we are 2 bottles of wine. We are rolling into the burnouts.
Ooh.
Okay, this week's Ryan. So Ryan Blaney won. He doesn't do burnouts normally.
Right.
Now he's won 2 races and he's done like the Iowa burnout wasn't terrible. He just got like hung up.
This one was
Here's the Pocono
miniature.
one. So Kev, he does his Polish victory lap.
Which I love. I love the Polish victory
Mhm.
lap because you get to face the crowd and you can kind of feel the emotion. But I think right here we were arguing. The left shoulder was arguing with the guy on the right shoulder, trying to figure out: do I do the burnout? Do I not do the burnout? All right, I'm going to whip it around and I'm going to do the little short burnout right here.
Little
So,
mini. What'd your daughter say? Tell the story, please.
we have this. My daughter and son know on Sunday I'm going to watch the race, and when the race is over, we can go do whatever. So this week, Piper was hearing the end of the race, and she always says, she knows that I need to watch the burnout. So she turns around and she's like, "Oh, Dad, that was a short burnout. That was not very good. Why was this burnout so short, Dad?" So she was not impressed with Ryan Blaney's short burnout. So I expressed Piper's concern to Ryan on our victory lap interview this week, and he knows he's being critiqued, but you're going to get a low grade. We're not going to give it an F.
No, we got to be fair.
We're definitely going to give it a probably somewhere in the C area because it was so short. But Ryan is fully aware that Piper is critiquing, and for the rest of you out there that are doing burnouts, Piper is now critiquing your burnout. So don't get dissed by the 6-year-old.
Yeah, the 6-year-old said Cole did a
tough
great
critic.
job.
Yeah, she loved Cole Custer's burnout. She knows
it in there.
"Daddy, you ever do a burnout like that? Just pin the nose against the wall and just burn the back tires off of it?" And I'm like, "I don't know that I ever have, but I've done some pretty good burnouts." And this week, Indy.
Yes.
That was one of the most epic burnouts that I ever did, from turn 1 all the way back to the start finish line. And I was in big trouble for doing burnouts across the bricks.
Oh.
Yeah, they were. Indianapolis Motor Speedway was none too happy with the rubber marks that they probably washed off with a brush over the bricks. And so, but still one of the most epic burnouts. And Richard kept the car, and that was his retirement gift to me.
Right.
Was the Indianapolis 2003 winning car.
All right, fellas, that's a stick. Unc is setting the standard.
He is. Bar is high.
Start in turn 1.
Try.
Yeah,
sounds like a Larson.
You can do your Polish victory lap while you're waving at the crowd and doing a burnout. Maybe some of you won't be able to do it.
Well, we're gonna find out, and we can't wait to see how it's all gonna go down. Time now for our last call. So we've been talking about the Brickyard. Now we can go ahead and give our selections. Who do you think? Did you say the 11?
I kind of spilled mine earlier. I just keep picking the 11.
Is that 2 weeks in a row, the 11?
I don't know.
What's going on?
I think I did pick the 11 last week.
I think you've picked the 11 7 times this year total.
Yeah. Okay, I think they're going to win it. I think they're going to win the championship this year.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, he called that weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
When he was still...
We might not make it all the way through the playoffs, and you can give me a hard time, but if I had to pick today, that's my guy.
Okay.
I'm going Larson. I think it's
Larson.
Kyle Larson's weekend.
Gosh, they didn't. They've had some missteps, but we're in a very unique portion of the schedule. I will give you that.
Kevin never is impressed with my picks.
Yeah. No, it's a great pick. It's a great pick, but I think it's just they've been kind of hit or miss lately.
Yeah, there's
24.
Yeah. Yeah, 20. Yeah. Man. So because I've been, it's a real problem for me.
He can't pick anymore.
Yeah.
He's nervous to even say anybody.
I'm nervous to say anybody. I really.
This week's pick is Cody Ware.
And then he wins. I'd be like, yes. Yeah. No one saw that one coming. So I do think that it's important for Team Penske to show out here. I think they have a lot of pressure on them. First time back here. Feels like a Joey Logano type situation. He wins that
22.
first time tracks. But I think I'm going to go with someone who needs it really badly.
Oh, wait. You're confusing me.
Yeah, I know.
Are you 22? What are you?
I'm going with Kyle freaking Busch.
KFB.
KFB. Because I can't make your season any worse than it already is, my guy. So go get you one.
Yeah, that's fair.
I can't make your season
get
any worse, Kyle.
Can't do it any worse.
Maybe it will work in reverse and
I hope
something
so.
will work out for him. So you've got another interview, of course, this week with Josh Berry coming up. That'll be cool to talk to him.
Yes, we've got Josh Berry in the seat. He's actually going to be in studio. So
love it.
I have a lot of questions for Josh. I'm really intrigued of just his whole relationship with Dale and filling in that seat in the 4-car this year, and then everything transitioning with Stewart Haas selling some of their charters, and now he's going to be in line to go looking for that 100th win for the Wood Brothers. So
there you go.
Should be a fun interview.
We look forward to hearing that. Also want to remind everyone, Ryan Blaney interview with Kevin is also available
The Victory
on
Lap.
YouTube, the Victory Lap.
Yeah.
So make sure you check that out. Continue to subscribe on YouTube wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a review, maybe some 5 stars, and we will see all the closers after the Brickyard.